Hey sports fans, we're back, and today we're going to take a look at the best Oklahoma Sooners football players of all time. The Oklahoma Sooners football program is a storied program that has produced 80 consensus All-Americans, 50 conference titles, and 7 Heisman winners. Today we're going to sift through Oklahoma's finest to deliver you a list of top players to ever wear the crimson and cream. But before we get into all of that, do me a favor and click that subscribe button if you haven't already. All done? Alright, let's do this. After redshirting during his first season in 2006, Oklahoma native Sam Bradford was given the reins to the Sooners offense in year 2, and in year 2 he looked like anything but someone just being handed the starting job. Bradford had the type of accuracy and leadership you hope for in a quarterback, and his lack of turnover-worthy throws meant that he and his team were rarely letting teams back in games after going up on them, and for Bradford, who was more of a kill-you-with-1,000 cuts type of passer rather than your traditional deep passer big play quarterback, it would allow him to methodically lead his team up the field, leaving defenses frustrated. 36 touchdowns and 8 interceptions later, he and his Sooners won the Big 12 championship and looked like a team that could be competing for a national championship during the Bradford era. In his sophomore season, Bradford turned in one of the best seasons by a quarterback ever, tossing 50 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions with 4,700 yards. The offense was less conservative, and Bradford showed the NCAA that he had absolutely no limitations to his game. Bradford, who was now considered the best quarterback in the land, led the Sooners to a 12-1 record and a date against Florida in the national championship game. Although the Sooners would lose, Bradford would win the Heisman Trophy and 10 other college awards, making him the baddest man in all the land and someone who was destined to be the #1 selection. Bradford decided to return another year, and unfortunately for Sam, the injury bug got him and he would only appear in 3 games. Although the season was a lost one, Bradford was so good in 2008 that he was still selected first overall upon entering the NFL draft. CeeDee Lamb was a lion among first-year wideouts during his freshman year at Oklahoma and broke numerous freshman wide receiver records, including receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. A physical receiver with a natural knack to get open, Lamb got open enough during his freshman year to warrant the team wanting to get the ball to him more and was fastly becoming Heisman winner Baker Mayfield's favorite target. During his sophomore year, Lamb's production hit an uptick as he increased his yards and reception totals while leading the team in touchdowns with 11. Alongside Hollywood Brown, Lamb formed a formidable tandem and served as one of Kyler Murray's go-to weapons. It would be the second time in just a season that Lamb would be playing with Heisman winners, and this time it could even be said that he helped elevate his quarterback to Heisman levels. In what was the biggest game in his career, reaching the college football semifinals, Lamb faced the truest test of his ability against powerhouse Alabama. Although the Sooners would lose, Lamb still recorded a career high in receptions with 8 and added 109 yards and a touchdown. His 17.8 yards per reception during his sophomore season showed that Lamb was a field stretcher, but he was also a short to intermediate route master capable of bullying defensive backs at the line and also leaving them on skates when he was coming out of his breaks. Even though CeeDee was regarded as a very good wideout, he would still only make second team All Big 12 and wasn't really receiving national recognition. All of that would change during his junior year after Lamb looked as if he was a man playing with boys and upped his yardage total to over 1,300 and upped his yards per catch to an outstanding 21.4 and improved his touchdown total to 14. This time, Lamb would be recognized as Biletnikoff finalist and first-team All-American, as well as MVP of the Big 12 championship. In the Peach Bowl against undefeated LSU, Lamb showed up again with 119 yards against one of the nation's best secondaries. Lamb didn't play with a Heisman winner this year, but his quarterback did happen to be Heisman finalist Jalen Hurts. Baker Mayfield's path to Sooners lore started off at Texas Tech, where the future Sooner flexed his freshman passing chops for the Red Raiders, where he became the first walk-on true freshman QB to ever start a season opener. Baker shined but wanted to transfer to Oklahoma. Due to NCAA rules, he was forced to miss the 2014 season. But after winning the starting job in 2015, the Baker Mayfield era in Oklahoma was finally underway. The young Mayfield did not disappoint and picked up right where he left off in Texas. His 3,700 yards, 36 passing touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions was good enough for 4th in the Heisman voting and an Orange Bowl berth against Clemson, although the Sooners would lose. Baker won over college football fans who saw just how tough of a competitor Baker was, and that the former walk-on standout was standing out among his top passing peers across the nation. Baker's crowning accomplishment in the following season would be a video game shootout between him and the new guy at Texas Tech, Patrick Mahomes, in a 66-59 classic college thriller. Mayfield and his 445-yard and 7 touchdowns held off Mahomes in his 734 passing yards and 5 touchdowns in a game that broke numerous records and elevated Mayfield's star status even higher, prompting him to be a Heisman finalist. Baker Mayfield demonstrated razor-sharp accuracy with the type of pocket presence and command of a huddle that teams covet. Appearing more than NFL ready and already considered one of the wire quarterback prospects, Mayfield returned for one last ride with the Sooners. During Baker's final season, he would lead the Sooners to the semifinals where they would lose to the Georgia Bulldogs, but Mayfield improved on his season totals, upping his yards and touchdowns to eye-popping proportions and secured the Heisman victory this time. Billy Sims was a player that embodied, it's not how you start but how you finish. After 2 injury-shortened seasons, Tim officially announced himself to the college world in year 3 as a redshirt junior after rushing for 1,896 yards on 7.6 yards per carry. Sims' third year as a college athlete and first year as a starter saw him win the Heisman and lead the Sooners to an 11-win season and top of the Big 8 Conference, which no longer exists. To give you an idea of how much Billy Sims carried his 1978 team, the quarterback Thomas Lott had only 487 passing yards. You heard that correctly, 487. Mind you, Sims had 3 games in a row with over 300 yards. His senior season would be more incredible, run by Sims, who rushed for 1,500 yards and 22 touchdowns on a Sooner team that relied heavily on Sims to compete. Billy's most impressive game in his final year came at the hands of unbeaten Nebraska and their top-ranked rushing defense. Nebraska had been shutting down top ball carriers all year, but their date with Sims saw him rush all over them to the tune of 247 yards in a 17-14 win. Sims helped his team with 2 Orange Bowls in 3 seasons, and he narrowly missed out on back-to-back Heisman seasons, but finished second to Charles White of USC. The top Sooner on our list needs no introduction. Adrian Peterson was the greatest Oklahoma Sooners to ever don the cream and crimson, in our opinion, and it wasn't even close. As a true freshman, Peterson exploded onto the scene with 1,925 rushing yards and led the nation with a whopping 339 carries. Mind you, as an 18-year-old, most athletes are hoping to get over 100 snaps with a program that also has brought in other several candidates vying for playing time. Peterson was a bell cow from the word go, and the Peterson hype started in his very first practice when coaches got an up-close look at what a unique freak Adrian was. At 6'1" and a solid 220, Peterson was one of those built-in lab specimens you dream about at the running back position. A burner with the top speed to run away from any defender, with the short area quickness and burst to accelerate through holes or away from would-be tacklers. Peterson also packed the type of power reserved for an NFL back, so every time he lowered his pads, he was packing a punch a defender wasn't always keen on taking. Adrian ripped Oklahoma's freshman record book apart on his way to becoming its first freshman first-team All-American. Keep in mind, just a year ago, the Sooners were considered one of the worst rushing units in the nation with an offensive line ranked toward the bottom. Peterson rushed Oklahoma all the way to a BCS title game where they'd be demolished by USC, with the Trojans' entire focus being to stop number 28. Even with all the attention and a negative game script, Peterson still reached a respectable 82 yards. Peterson's sophomore and junior seasons were plagued by injuries, but when on the field, Peterson still shined, continuously breaking off chunk plays and helping the Sooners clinch big wins and catapult the Sooners to Big 12 favorites and a team to be reckoned with whenever Peterson was in the backfield. During his junior season, while off to a blistering start, Peterson broke his collarbone after jumping into the end zone on a touchdown run. The injury forced him to miss 7 games and fall just 73 yards shy of Bill Sims' all-time Sooners rushing mark, a feat that took Sims 5 years of eligibility to claim, although a couple of those seasons were shortened by injury, and it took Peterson just 3 seasons to nearly break Sims' mark. Alright, sports fans, that's our time on the Oklahoma Sooners and the best football players to ever wear the crimson and cream. Let us know what you thought about our list by dropping us a comment, and as always, if you aren't already a subscriber, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on our channel and receive more videos just like this. Until next time, sports fans.